Okay, welcome, bienvenidos to the Idcpodcast On the Waterfront, the podcast where we discuss about everything, about our future, our strategies, our battles, and all that is around us. And today we are in Luanda, in Angola, to speak about solidarity, is our main word that we have in our sector, our life. And nobody better than Kenny and Mark to talk about that. I will introduce, all of them good. Ken Raleigh, he's the president of Local 1422 from Charleston, South Carolina. Welcome, Kenny. He's also vice president of the ILA, and he's our U.S. East Coast Zone coordinator, man.
Absolutely. We wear a lot of hats.
And we have also Mark Frederick Bass from Local 1410 from Mobile, Alabama. I'm also vice president of the ILA. Thank you and welcome, Mark, for being here. This is your first time here?
Yes, thank you.
And thanks, because you are more than colleagues, you are friends. For me, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Absolutely. I think all of us are friends.
Right.
Yeah. So let's start with what we are doing here. We plan the first travel to Africa, you remember, to Gambia 15, 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah, I do remember.
And I want to make a review about what's going on and start with the beginning. What was the first travel to Africa to both of you guys when you come to Gambia? What you expect? What you finish at that time?
Well, when you invited me to go to Africa, I had not been even thinking about the continent, and it turned out to be a very interesting and engaging trip. I was very happy to see my African brothers and sisters coming together to consider joining this global network. And then as I began to listen to the concerns, the challenges on the continent, then in my mind and my heart, I know we had to then become much more engaged because of the exploitation that I saw, the lack of safety, to be able to witness workers, dock workers working without the proper PPE, personal protection, working in flip-flops, and stripping a container too high in the field. So I knew we have a lot of work to do here, and to look at the disparity in the wages that they're paid, and dock workers are being treated like, I would say, like a commodity. When it's no longer in use, you just toss it to the side and bring in some more equipment or whatever. So it was an eye-opening experience, to say the least.
What about you, Mark? What do you feel at the time? Because at that time, at the beginning, is where you guys start a big project in Liberia with the rice field and all this stuff, and you make an amazing work there.
Well, yes, the experience for me is pretty much like Kenny, but more importantly, it just touched my heart so to the fact that over here we do from the States to over here we do the same jobs, but the disparity, as what Kenny was saying, is so much different. It was a complete eye-opener for me. I knew from the struggles that we have went through, especially in the South and the Gulf Coast, that something had to be done, that I couldn't go another day without not trying to do what could be done to help advance dock workers all over the world, especially over here where the exploitation takes place, and that people over here just want a chance. The way that we was accepted over here is more heart-touching to me that it helped open my eyes and mindsets to what can be done and what needed to be done, as where we had the advantages from the states to negotiate and bring solidarity together. So why not bring solidarity with our brothers and sisters of dock workers over here?
It has become more personal to me for a number of reasons. Two reasons. We are descendants of slaves that came from Africa, and from my research, it appears that more than 99% of all slaves that came to the U.S. through the Caribbean, through the West Indies, all came from West Africa. And so with your invitation to first come to the Gambia, that's where we landed, on the west coast of Africa. Since that time, we got involved in the mission in Liberia. And Liberia was established by freed Africans out of South Carolina in the South, and ships sailed from Charleston to Liberia to establish almost like a U.S. colony over there. And so when a couple of Liberians came to my office to tell us about the plight of the people there during the Ebola crisis, we got involved, Mark and I and others, in the ILA, and began to ship supplies and rice to try to help kids in the orphanage who were trapped there, who became orphaned because of the Civil War, 10 years of Civil War, and then the Ebola crisis. A lot of people died. So it became a dual mission. Every time we talk about Africa, we talk about the plight of the people, but also the plight of the dock workers in particular. Because, everything that comes in and out of those countries, for the most part, just like us, comes by ship. And even the same shipping lines that actually call on these countries to extract their resources is the same ships that call our ports. So therefore, the water connects all of us. And I think now that we know what is happening in these third world countries, it is up to the dock workers, I believe in particular. If there's going to be a change in the way dock workers are treated in these countries, it's going to be on our backs, on our shoulders to get it done. And I think the way to do that is to actually hold these shipping lines accountable. That's where we have, I think, the greatest strength. Shipping lines are to be held accountable for the low wages, the lack of safety, no benefits once they're retired. They are to be held accountable. They may not run the terminal. They may not employ the workers directly, but they should ensure, and we should help them in that vein to say, you will not be paying workers, you will not have workers aboard your vessels working for substandard wages. Workers in these third world countries, and I'm going to speak particularly now in these West African ports. And we are here in Angola right now. This is my very first time. And when I'm hearing that dock workers may make $100 a month is unheard of. And I think I've heard that in some cases, for instance, in the United States, we may make more money in 1 hour than they make an entire month. Why should there be such disparity? And like we said, that the cost of living here is in a decent home and so forth. Dock workers can't even afford it. So, long answer, but that's
our challenge. This is our challenge.
This is our challenge. We have to expose these lines. If the lines don't want to speak to us as a dock workers council at some convening of some type of meeting where we can have some collaboration on these issues, why are our brothers and sisters in South America being treated the way they are? Why are our brothers and sisters in India and Africa are being treated the way they are? Why is there a difference between how we are being treated in Europe and in the United States and all in Canada?
And the same shipping lines.
Same shipping lines.
The same ships.
So maybe
same cranes.
That's right.
And same everything.
That's right.
Which is the difference?
So they pay the same amount of money for the cranes.
Yeah.
The same amount of money for the terminals being built and so forth. The only area in which they do not, but there's huge disparity, is in the workers, is in the people. And we are dock workers. We are internationally, we are an international group, and I think our standards will not be where they need to be until all of us are being paid a fair wage, a living wage, better than a living wage, get all the protection that a dock worker needs so that they can go home to their families. And until that happens, I don't think our mission will not be complete. Our mission will not be complete until we bring these carriers to some type of forum, let them know what our major concerns are, not in Charleston, not in Spain, not in Alabama, but around the world. And we have to be on a quest to right this wrong. We have to right this wrong. And if they fail to participate...
No, but we have to take them the responsibility to the shipping lines, because at the end, are the shipping lines who are putting this difference between you and F.Bass, that is, they told yesterday, around $80, $90, $100 by month, working 12 hours.
Yes.
That's crazy. Are the shipping lines who are making this unfair game, trying to the weekends unions, try to make them weaker. You know?
Right. And the reason I believe the linchpin is the lines, because a terminal developer, a port developer, a terminal operator can have the most developed terminal, be it automated or whatever. We don't believe in automation the way they're looking at eliminating these jobs. But if no ship was to call that terminal until dock workers are paid and treated like decent human beings, they will have a beautiful terminal with no work, no ships. So the key is the vessels. If we and all our other international federations like the ITF or others want to get involved in such a campaign, it is high time we do that. That's have to be our mission in the end.
During this project, we have been in Benin, in Ivory Coast, in
Togo,
in Senegal, in Togo. What was your feeling last time in Togo? We live
Running.
a crazy experience in the middle of assembly is what we are living here sometimes, that difficult times, fight between, not sometimes it's not against the company, sometimes it's against
between the unions.
Yeah, in the union. So it's something that our work is hard sometimes in this country. So how do you live that kind of situations where I want to escape, I want to run, and they tell me, no, stay here.
Well, you see, and I do believe a lot of those problems we run into and resistance that we run into in various countries could be neutralized by these global carriers. If, listen, they can make statements that are very profound. like in Charleston, for instance, we would not have won that Leatherman dispute
Yeah.
had the lines kept going into that terminal. So the leverage we had against the powerful right-wing state of South Carolina was our relationship with the carriers. And so, yeah, terminal operators are big. I'm happy to see that a line like MSC is buying out terminals. That just gives us more access, more control.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, Kenny,
And that's have to be the answer.
you speaking on that, more profoundly, one of the things are the willingness to fight. When they strip the workers of their will to fight, then it becomes just that much harder to try to convince them where we need to go. But I notice one of the things I do notice as we go in, we talk about what accomplished may have been won on our side. It gives them hope, that greater hope. It gives them the little gleam in their eye that they realize. It calls them to extra work.
In other words, we can still fight and we can still win.
We can
If
still
we have
win
the right
if you don't fight.
strategies, we don't have to cower down and act like these are impossible things to accomplish.
Right.
No.
Because if you hadn't pushed the ILA to the fight with the Leatherman, who would have known? You go all the way back to the Charleston Five. The guys stood up to the Charleston Five. So it's about giving that type of information to people who may have been suppressed for a number of years. And they don't see no hope. They don't see no gleam. They don't see anything other than getting beat down. I just brought up the fact that remember when we was when we had to run? Remember when we had to run? So, we was there to help them. And the confusion with one union versus another union. And those are the challenges we face, but yet we are willing to go back again and again and again to help to help the workers realize that there's hope, there's a chance, and the things that we can do. I look at where we have came from in the Deep South, the challenges we once faced. So it gives me just that much courage, just that much faith, just that much the willingness to go forth and move forth to help in any way that we can.
I'll say this. We're getting ready to celebrate the Charleston Five victory and 25 years of success and growth of the IDC. The one thing I learned going through the Charleston Five is that, and I was told this, that we are to analyze our struggles. How did we win? What did it take to win? What I learned in the Charleston Five struggle that was very profound is that when we took the fight to Copenhagen, where the shipping line was headquartered, and when we took the fight to their own turf, exposed them in their own country, is when the campaign took the turn.
Change.
It began to change. When you take the fight to them, we expose them, expose the CEO of the atrocities that they were creating in the southern part of the United States, in Charleston. When we went to organize the Bahamas, 8 years, trying to get support from, forget about the government, who was already, I would call it, in bed with Hutchinson,
With the company.
with the company. The company had bought out the politicians. The company had bought out the community, the churches. But when we exposed them, when we pulled that curtain back, we solicited letters from RWU, from the ITF, from Hal Daggett, from the IDC. And when those letters were put together and we sent it to the press in the Bahamas, I think it was called Zen Nest, that's when the campaign broke. So it's all about exposing the corruption, exposing the brutality and the treatment of workers is when you're going to get results. So as long as they're not being exposed,
Yeah, that's true.
Business as usual.
it's business as usual.
I wanted to make a change of the continent for a while, but you advanced about the Bahamas. The work that you did there, guys, was amazing because you organize a country, organize the ports level. So I want to congratulate you guys for this. And do you remember first time that you fly to South America with Paraguay, with Mauricio,
Yes.
from Argentina with Emilio, from Spain, Wiseman,
Yeah.
with Manu too. So I think at that time when we got the release of the guys from that were arrested and all the concerts that they have for them was amazing. So
It was.
what was your feelings at that time? Was amazing.
Yeah, that's when
A life experience.
that's when I realized that Muhammad Ali didn't have anything on you, Jordi, because after the victory, the one thing I remember is all the kids running behind the
Yeah,
man saying,
I remember.
Jordi,
I remember.
Jordi, the hero, Jordi, the champion. You are the champion.
We were the champion. It was an amazing experience. It was one of the best of my life. I think there are 2 or 3 things that they change your mind. And at that time, I remember the kids, but I remember also the moms of the workers, the grandmoms of the workers, the dinner with all the people, with the beautiful fish there. All this experience was amazing. But at the beginning, I mentioned that we are here in Angola, in Luanda. It will be a busy week. We have meetings with the government, with the minister tomorrow morning, with the port operators, with the diet of the port, with the companies. Also the Congress of the Dog Workers that represent more than 5,000 dog workers of Angola. So it's a busy week. What do you expect here to take home and to take to your mind and to your people? What do you expect, guys, here this week?
Victory.
Always, they have no more option. I think what is the worst part of this is sometimes, like example with the ILA, that we won the master contract, and I say we have no more option to win. You know, we have with all the disputes that we have, say we cannot lose, and we never lose. Of course, it's more time, less time, but we never left anybody outside. You know, and this is one more.
Well, I think us being here and when we come to all these countries, the one thing that's important to me is living the motto of the IDC. You'll never walk alone again. The fact that the government, the Port Authority, the ministers, all will know that we are here supporting the dock workers of this country. They're not alone. They're not isolated. They may have been isolated before, but they won't be isolated in the future. And so I always leave there thinking that this is the first step. This is a huge first step in letting them know, listen, we're going to be watching. We're going to work continuously to make sure that the welfare of dock workers are elevated to another level. Just like in our country, we are essential workers. We move the world's good. We move the commerce necessary to keep the country afloat. These dock workers do the same work, but we are determined to make sure that they are treated as such. You know, you can have your engineers, your architects, and your politicians, but if no commerce is moving in and out of this country, it's for naught. So that's what I hope to accomplish.
And for that, it's important also, I don't know, what do you think, Mark, about the commitment of the unions, and in this case of your local, of the ILA, and it's not about economical resources, it's about human resources that is more important. For example, small actions, something like all the clothes that we have in our port that we don't normally use to keep in a container and send it to the West Africa, for example. Mm-hmm. It's a small step, but it's a huge step for them because they, at the end, they have to pay their clothes, their protection shoes. So, and in this stage, your commitment and the union's commitment, it's very important. So.
Well, I look at it from the humanitarian side. You know, we've been blessed in the U.S., in the States, And why not share it with our brothers and sisters abroad, in Africa or wherever that may take us. There are certain things that, just like you mentioned, when we went into Liberia, Kenny and us organized a campaign, which I don't think we should ever walk away from. I think we should just keep enhancing it to be able to share and give, because that's one of the traits that we really have, is giving back so it'll help peoples. And we can't forget all our own struggles to how we got here. So I think that that campaign should keep on, we should keep it
Cannot stop.
moving
Cannot
forward.
stop, yeah.
Yes, moving forward with it, and we can't stop it. The slogan, we'll never walk alone, meaning we'll help where we can help. And there's many areas and issues and different things that we can help in, and we just choose whether we choose to or not to. But we got a leader, King Kenneth, to help us organize it.
He's the king of
forward.
Africa.
Yes. The greater respect is
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
So, for finish, I want that you guys send a message to the people, especially to the people that are watching this podcast and sometimes don't know how to participate, and say how we can help, how we can. A lot of you know, we receive a lot of messages of people that wants to participate, and it's not about money. It's not about, we don't need the money. We need the resources to send the clothes, send the project, the medical equipment, for example. So, what is a message that you can send to the people to be part of this project?
Well, I would say for them to get involved. Again, we can put something together to help, like we did with the vests, the hard hats, those PPEs that they would need to be safe on the job. It takes me back when we was in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Cape Coast. No, not Cape Coast, it was Ivory Coast, where a worker slept under the truck. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he didn't have the time to go home in order to try to retain another job, but he never made it because he got killed. The person in the truck didn't know he was asleep under the truck and killed him. And it shows you, it showed me how much the industry, the companies, shipping lines really think about us. He's forgotten now.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to help, they can give, contact Kenny, yourself, IDC, and find out what that campaign is going to look like, and we can move forward just like we do in Liberia. Still do that cause, and we see the results from that with Mar, who has a scholarship working in the U.S. and making very good grades. So just to see your work is very maturing.
Well, not everyone can travel like this. It's very expensive to actually come out, get in the trenches, and actually fight and meet these ministers. We can't go into those meetings, 25, 30 individuals at one time. But what everyone can do is to contribute to the IDC, help fund these campaigns, because this struggle is real. This is not make-believe. It's very serious. Like I said, we come to these countries and we see the struggle. We see the plight. And like I mentioned to you this morning when we were down at the fishing village, we come and we see these things and then we go back home. But for the people who we saw struggling, this is their everyday reality, 365 days a year. And if we all spend the rest of our lives trying to help alleviate that kind of oppression, I think it'll be a life well lived, and you cannot give enough to help us change the course of history for a lot of these people, because I believe just like you see these major forest fires, a lot of them start just from a spark. And if we can generate a spark and encourage some fighters, some folks who are willing to stand in the gap in these countries because of what we did. If we can change and inspire some young fighters, then our work is done, because that fire would ignite.
We change the balance.
It'll change the balance of power in these countries.
And
it won't be easy because, you know, corporate greed exists, and they'll spend a lot of money to suppress this type of activity. So give to the IDC.
Okay, guys, thank you for participating in the podcast. It's always an inspiration to have here both of you guys, and it's a pleasure. And that's all from the IDC Talkers podcast at the Waterfront. As we say always, if we are together,
it's impossible to fail.
That's all.